Hello, good morning, dear students. Today we shall study Chapter 4 Introducing Western Sociologists. What is the meaning of sociologists? As sociologists studies how people act within societies and other groups. If you are interested in issues like gender roles, crime, or the way families interact, you might want to be a sociologist. Sociology is a social science that examines the way people work in groups, and sociologists are scientists who practice sociology. Any topic that's connected to society falls under a sociologist's expertise, including social class, family structures, religious customs, war and conflict, and much more. The word sociologist comes from sociology and its Latin root socius means associate. And here is a definition of sociologist. Sociologist is a noun, a social scientist who studies the institutions and development of human society. So, sociology is sometimes called the child of the age of revolution. This is because it was born in 19th century in Western Europe. So in this chapter we shall discuss the key ideas of three sociological thinkers, Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim, and Max Weber. As part of the classical tradition of sociology, they laid the foundation of the subject. Their ideas and insights have remained relevant even in the contemporary world. And so here you can see the ideas of the classical thinkers like Marx, Weber, and Durkheim about society were influenced by social conditions of the three processes that helped sociology to emerge. These social processes were the Age of Reason or Enlightenment, the French Revolution, the Scientific or Industrial Revolution. These processes completely transformed not only European society but also the rest of the world as it came into contact with Europe. The next topic is the context of sociology. The modern era in Europe and the conditions of modernity that we take for granted today were brought about by three major processes, and these were the Enlightenment or drawing of the Age of Reason, the quest for political sovereignty embodied in the French Revolution, and the system of mass manufacture inaugurated by the Industrial Revolution. Let us now look into the next topic, that is the Enlightenment. During the late 17th and 18th centuries, Western Europe saw the emergence of radically new ways of thinking about the world, referred to as the Enlightenment. These new philosophies established the human being at the center of the universe and rational thought as the central feature of the human being. The ability to think rationally and critically transformed the individual human being into both the producer and the user of all knowledge, the knowing subject. On the other hand, only persons who could think and reason could be considered as fully human. Being the handiwork of humans, society was amenable to rational analysis and thus comprehensible to other humans. For reason to become the defining feature of the human world, it was necessary to displace nature, religion, and the divine acts of gods from the central position they had in earlier ways of understanding the world. This means that the Enlightenment was made possible by and in turn helped to develop attitudes of mind that we refer today as secular, scientific, and humanistic. And for your easy understanding, you can have a look at the age of enlightenment. The Enlightenment, a philosophical movement that dominated in Europe during the 18th century, was centered around the idea that reason is the primary source of authority and legitimacy, and advocated such ideals as liberty, progress, tolerance, fraternity, constitutional government, and separation of church and state. Now you can have the look at the few pictures of the Enlightenment. The next is the Industrial Revolution. The foundations of modern industry were laid by the Industrial Revolution, which began in Britain in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. It had two major aspects. The first was the systematic application of science and technology to industrial production, particularly the invention of new machines and the harnessing of new sources of power. Secondly, the Industrial Revolution also evolved new ways of organizing labor and markets on a scale larger than anything in the past. Here you can see the few pictures of factories. The factories set up in urban areas were made by workers who were uprooted from the rural areas and came to the cities in search of work. Low wages at the factory meant that men, women, and even children had to work long hours in hazardous circumstances to eke out a living. Modern industry enabled the urban to dominate over the rural. Cities and towns became the dominant forms of human settlement, housing large and unequal populations in small, densely populated urban areas.